project management processes involved in the project integration management, what are the standard tools and techniques available for project integration management, and what are the different outputs expected from project integration management. This project integration management knowledge area is basically having 6 different processes. So those are a project charter, that is develop project charter, then develop project management plan, direct and manage the project work, monitor and control the project work, perform integrated change control, and the close project or phase. This knowledge area will include the processes from almost all the process groups. So develop project charter is part of your project initiation. Develop project management plan is part of your project planning. Direct and manage the project work is part of your project execution. Monitor and control the project work and perform integrated change control would be part of your monitoring and controlling the project, and close project or a phase would be part of your project closing phase. So this knowledge area is spread across all the process groups. The processes among this knowledge area are basically segregated in all 5 process groups of project management. So each of these process in turn will take some specific inputs, will require some tools and techniques in order to generate the desired outputs. So understanding all those project management processes in detail becomes an important for a project manager. As I said earlier, this is where the chart which explains you that how those 6 processes from the integration management, a project integration management, have been spread across the 5 knowledge areas. As I said, this is the initiating process group and this is the develop project charter. So as part of the project initiating process group, there might be some set of processes involved into it, but this develop project charter is the process will become part of the project initiating and it comes under the project integration management. So there is another process which we have listed as part of the project integration management is develop project management plan. So this becomes part of your planning phase, project planning, and as I said, this direct and manage project execution will become part of your executing process group. And there are 2 processes from the project integration management which will become part of your monitoring and controlling process group, and those are monitor and control the project work and the perform integrated change control. And the last process in the project integration management knowledge area is the close project or a phase, and that will become your part of closing process group. So net to net there are 6 processes and a project integration management. Out of those 6, one is from the initiating process group, one is from the planning process group, one is from the executing process group, 2 will contribute to a monitoring and controlling process group, and 1 will contribute to the closing process group. So it is very important to understand for a project manager to understand which process of the knowledge area falls under which process group a project management. So we'll learn each of this process in more detail. So when we say a develop project charter, what do you mean by project charter? That is the first question which comes to everybody's mind. What is the project charter? Now we understand that the project charter gets developed as part of the project initiation process group, and it is part of the project integration management. But what do you mean by project charter? The project charter is the document that formally authorizes a project and provides the formal authority for project manager to start the project. So project charter talks about when the project is going to start, who is the project manager, what is the objective of the project, who is the sponsor of the project, what are the high level responsibilities of project manager, project sponsor, when the project is going to be start. So this is an important document which basically authorizes a project. So if anything in this world or any work has to be started, it has to be authorized first. There should be a sponsor who basically going to finance that particular project. So that is nothing but a project charter which will give you an authority to start the project. Project charter also talks about the project boundaries. What is the scope of this project? What is the purpose of this project? So organization to organization, it depends on the type of the project, complexity of the project, nature of the customer, and various processes in the organization. The template for the project charter may differ. However, there are some standard templates given for the project charter and are easily accessible on the internet and all. But the basics which goes in the project charter is basically sponsor details, project manager details, what is the start date of the project, what is the objective of the project, what is the high level scope of the project, whether there are any risks, and it's finally an authority to start the project on a given date. So this is about the project charter. We need to understand the process chart for the project charter. What do you mean by process chart? So in order to prepare the project charter, as I said, this is one of the process, and each and every process will take some inputs, some tools and technique. It will use some tools and techniques, and then it will generate the specific output. So if you see, this develop project charter takes input as a project statement of work, business case, agreements, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. So there are 5 different things which will be acting as an input while preparing the project charter or while developing the project charter. We'll see each of these inputs. What do you mean by each and every input of this develop project charter process? What goes in the project statement of work? What do you mean by business case? What are those agreements? What goes under the enterprise environmental factors? What gets contributed to the organization process assets? So these two, enterprise environmental factors and organization process assets, are the most common inputs to almost all the processes in the project management. So it's a set of processes contributes to a knowledge area, and as we know there are 10 knowledge areas. So whatever the processes available in all those 10 areas, almost each and every process will take enterprise environmental factors and organization process assets as input. We'll see what goes into that, but just to mention, these are the 2 common inputs for any project management process. Tools and techniques, again there are two tools and techniques used for developing the project charter. One is the expert judgment and another is the facilitation techniques. And as we know, the output of this process is nothing but the project charter. So there will be 5 inputs, 2 common tools and techniques will be used, and one output get generated from this project is project charter. Let's see what all those are inputs, how these tools and techniques, or what is contributed, what is there in those tools and techniques, and how project charter, or what is there in the project charter. Okay, we have seen at a very high level that project charter will have the sponsor details, project manager details, start date, project boundaries, but we'll see again in more detail, okay, what is there. So the first input to the develop project charter process is a project statement of work. So what do you mean by project statement of work? It is many times it is termed as a SOW. So when anybody talks about the SOW, one thing comes into our mind is that a legal document, that is an agreement. So SOW is nothing but this is a legal written document, provides the description of project deliverables. It includes the business need, product scope description, strategic decisions, and terms and conditions of the services of the project. So again, the format for SOW varies from project to project, organization to organization, from customer to customer. Might be one common template would be available, but what has to be mandated and what has not to be, what has to be removed, what has to be added, it will depend on each and every project, type of the customer, deliverables required, terms and conditions.